All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm Cindy Baggett with Feeding the Gulf Coast. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for segment number 5 of our special series, The Table. So excited to share with you some updates of the organization this afternoon. As a reminder, we will take questions at the end of the segment, so please enter your questions into the Q&A box, and we'll take those questions. And so if you learn something and you'd like to learn a little bit more, reach out, and we'd love to be able to chat about that some. And let's see, we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, great. So what we're going to talk about today in this segment, Michael Ledger, our president and CEO, is going to share with us some general updates, what we're working on, what we're faced with in 2021. We also have a very special campaign announcement that Michael's going to share with us. And what we'll be learning about today is our store donation program. We have some special guests, Janet and Judy from New Life in Christ, one of our agency partners in Foley, and they're going to share a little bit about how that program works, how it benefits the community and those who are in need. And we're just really excited that you're joining us today for this informative segment of The Table. So at this time, Michael Ledger, our president and CEO, is going to share some fun information with us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Sorry, we were a couple minutes late, but as you know, technical difficulties is something you live with in this world of COVID, and we appreciate you sticking with us, and hopefully we'll enjoy ourselves. I'm going to start with a few trivia questions. That's something we're trying to incorporate into the table now. And if you're interested in trying to respond, you can do that in the chat, and let us know if you know the answers. So the first question, and some of these hopefully will be touching on things I'm going to talk about as we go forward. What year did the store donation program begin? You may know that by the retail store donation program. It has many names, and you've got 4 choices there: 1980, 1995, 2010, or 2015. Okay, so the actual answer is 2010. However, we were partnering in maybe less formal ways with folks like Del Champs and Greer's. They were donating food to us when we first opened. Grocery stores have always been a critical food sourcing partner for us and for the food bank. In 2010, it was a more formalized process through our association with Feeding America, which we're going to be talking more about as we go along. But 2010 is a formal program, but many years prior to that, informally with partners in our neighborhood. Okay, the second of our 3 questions. What church gave the food bank a donation to help us begin operations in 1981? And here you can see your 4 choices. Which one of those was the first one to make a donation to help us begin operations and do all the work that we still do today? Thinking there's going to be some people in our neighborhood that's going to know the correct answer to this. All Saints Episcopal Church is the correct answer. By the middle of 1981, a home for the food bank was found at the corner of Dauphin and Warren Streets in Mobile. Owned by the Catholic Archdiocese, the Archdiocese Lipscomb generously allowed the food bank to use the facility at no cost. A $5,000 donation from the Community Service Committee of All Episcopal Church provided the seed to begin the renovation and operation. And it just goes to show a few people come together and do something like this at a $5,000 donation, and you plant that seed in the ground and you water it, and people care for it, what it can grow into. An organization with 3 branches covering 24 counties, 22,000 square miles that helped to provide 38 million pounds of food this last year. That's starting from that seed, that's what we did. And these first 2 questions really point to something I wanted to talk about, which is our 40-year anniversary. All these people that came together to put that work in, to plant that seed, and all those people that have been watering it ever since. Thousands of people, whether they be volunteers, board members, the staff that has been in this building and all the other buildings that we have that have contributed to the cause. All those folks that put the work in over the past 40 years. We're trying to really spend some time to acknowledge that as we think this 40-year celebration is not only a milestone, but in a time like COVID, it's important to look at successes that have been that we've had, and I think certainly the communities that have supported Feeding the Gulf Coast can look at this as their success, and we want to make sure that we take the time to celebrate that. And as a plug for that, I would like to encourage everyone to go to our website, feedingthegulfcoast.org, and there you will find a place where you can learn some of the stories, pictures, things that have gone over the past 40 years, and maybe even more importantly, there's a place you can go and add your story or your input. We're looking for input from everyone so that we can build an archive that we can look back on at our 50th anniversary. So please feel free to contribute to that. We'd love to hear your input and angle on what your interaction with Feeding the Gulf Coast. Okay, and our last question. What is the name of the food bank's annual fundraiser each fall? So this has been going on some years now. It's an important fundraiser for us, and we are looking for the correct name. Battle by the Bay, Chef's Challenge, Taste of the Gulf, or Bowls of Hope. The correct answer is Chef's Challenge. We have our development committee and team here on the staff that are working really hard to figure out how to deal with this. This is a unique one for a few reasons. One of which is it's our 40th anniversary. And we want to make sure that we really spend some time at this Chef's Challenge with an acknowledgement of that and an opportunity to acknowledge all those folks that have been critical and pivotal in the success of this food bank. And of course, the other one, need I even mention, COVID. So trying to figure out how to, as we begin to normalize, just how far along are we going to be when the fall comes, and how do we want to build that event to address what it may look like then. So the team's really doing their very best to navigate that. Of course, we'd love to have a normal event where everybody's elbow to elbow enjoying food and camaraderie. Can we get that far? We don't know, but we're hoping to get it to make it the very best it can be under these circumstances. Okay, I wanted to talk about Volunteer Appreciation Month, which is April. I've already, I hope, mentioned volunteers. It should be something we talk about all the time. We don't do the things we do without volunteers, and those volunteers help in so many ways. It's really difficult to enumerate all the things they do for us. In 2020, we had 23,800 volunteers that contributed 224,000 service hours. And that's an estimated savings of $2.2 million to this food bank and the operation time that we would need to support. Clearly, it would be next to impossible for us to be able to cover that gap. That's why when we say volunteers are critical to what we do, we mean it. We just don't get this stuff done without it. Whether they be out at a mobile pantry here in our facility, packing backpacks for meals for our children that we serve, whether it be sorting food from the donation program that we're going to be really talking a lot about in this meeting upcoming, in so many different ways that volunteers help us. And it's really something we never should stop saying thank you for, and the appreciation for the efforts that they make. And when the pandemic hit, things changed dramatically, obviously. A lot of our corporate volunteers, were unable to participate due to the constraints that they found themselves in with business protocols. So we had a lot of cancellations there. And fortunately, we had a lot of individuals that stepped up as volunteers and really helped to cover that gap. Our volunteer support from new individuals increased by 30% in 2020. And I said in the newsletter that we just had go out that, as much as we've seen in 2020, whether that be hurricanes or COVID, we saw at least as much and generally more people stepping up in the face of those disasters and taking it head on. And I think the fact that we saw an increase of 30% in 2020 of new individuals that said, how can I help? It's just another measure of how, as a community, we get together and make amazing things happen. And speaking to a couple of those, Chuck and Shirley Walker, new ones volunteers that have been coming on a weekly basis, dedicated over the last year to making the things that need to happen. Pam Biggs, another volunteer who's assisted us when schools closed down, and whether it be backpacks, food sorting, distributions, these volunteers are going to continue to be a critical part of what we do. And as I've said many times, we may see some more normalization in our lives, whether that be restaurants that have a higher capacity, maybe masks that are not needed as much, whatever that may be. But for the folks that were most impacted by this pandemic, it could take months, perhaps years, for some of those folks to really get back to normal. And we're here to help them along the way, dedicated to staying with them until it's done. But of course, that doesn't happen without you guys and the volunteers supporting us in those efforts. So we're looking forward to continuing to meet amazing new people that want to come out and help. It really is a fun part of the job to get to meet people that are motivated to help every day. And it inspires our team, I think, every day as well. Another thing I want to talk about is the Walmart campaign. You may have heard that Walmart has been doing this for some time. Fight Hunger, a Spark Change campaign. It starts this week and it runs through May 3rd. And by supporting that program, you can impact and help us and many, millions that are in need, particularly the thousands, hundreds of thousands that are in need in our area specifically. Those dollars go to us. That support comes to us specifically. And that happens when you purchase a participating item in a store or online at walmart.com or Sam's Club. So these specific items you buy, that creates dollars for us to support our efforts. And then you can also round up at the register, and all of those funds also go to support our efforts in relieving food insecurity and hunger in our area. On a more general note, as an update, a lot of things still happening here. We're working on food sourcing every day, supporting our agencies through credits. We're investing in infrastructure with a new tractor that we bought for our tractor trailer semi to get more food out to our rural areas. We've opened 10 new agencies, partner agencies, in areas that we identified as rural or underserved populations. Those are coming online now. And we are working, as you may have heard, with different communities and county and city level initiatives to get food out to those areas that need it. A lot of exciting stuff happening here in the way of support for folks. Just a side note, we were scored highest. We were working on a RFP, a proposal to continue our something that's very important to us, our commodity food program. And of all the folks that had submitted their proposals in the state of Florida, Feeding the Gulf Coast had the highest score and the third highest score. We service 2 regions within Florida in the Western Panhandle, and we scored highest in both of those. We were really nervous because it's a valuable source of food to us, and relieved that we won, and then really proud that we were able to score the highest score in all of Florida. So I just want to brag on our team a little bit. We're going to be talking about the store donation program. Honestly, we have so many different names for it. we were literally sitting in a room trying to decide, okay, we want to talk about this at the table. What are we going to call it? Because we call it so many different things. I think that's a test. When something has that many different names, I think it says it's a point to how important it is, because you're talking about it all the time and everybody has their shorthand for what they're trying to convey. What I can tell you is the store donation program, or retail store donation program, or whatever you may hear it called, it's critical in what we do. We're talking in the first question, when did it start and who's been a part of it from the even before it was formally put together. We rely on this food. Going out and reclaiming and saving this food is critical to what we do to be able to provide the nutrition to folks in need. And the experts are going to be talking a lot more about it. But I at least wanted to introduce what we're going to be talking about, and the fact that this food that we reclaim makes up a significant part of the food that we're able to source it very economically. And it's really important, and that's why we wanted to make it a feature of one of the tables. And with that said, I want to introduce Cindy Bloom, who's the Director of Operations for our Alabama and Mississippi operations, and Carrie Ann Kinder, who's the store donation coordinator for Mississippi and Alabama. Take it away.
Good afternoon. As Michael said, I'm Cindy Bloom, Director of Operations. This is Carrie Ann Kinder. As Michael said, the store donation program is so significant to our operations. There's years where it's either between 30 and 50% of all the food that comes through the food bank. And not just that it's food, it's a high quality of variety and healthy food too. About 80% of the food that they donate is fresh. We're talking about fresh produce, fresh bakery, dairy, meats. It's food that the store has determined is unsellable, but is still perfectly fine to eat. And we pick up that food from grocery stores, as well as our agencies pick it up from the grocery stores. And we get right back out to the community. So for example, last Friday, we had our drivers come back, and I was standing in the cooler with one of our drivers, and we were picking out, we looked at these beautiful fruit trays and veggie platters and big plump green grapes and potatoes and hams and chicken salad and croissants and coconut cream pie. And we were just picking out what was going to go on the mobile pantry the next day, the day before Easter. And, you know, it was really humbling just to sit there and think that if our drivers did not pick up that food today on that Friday, and if we didn't have the coordination from a partner agency to distribute that food the next day, that food would not be on somebody's Easter table. And we felt just very gratified that this is what we do every day. We rescue food and we get it out as soon as possible the next day so people can eat it and have access to this healthy, fresh product. And one of my favorite parts of the program is the variety. And so we're able to offer clients a variety of food options, just like they would get at the grocery store. And so our partners set it up different ways of how they distribute the food. But we have partners that offer the client, we call it client choice. They get to look at all these vegetables and they get to say, you know, my family doesn't really eat Brussels sprouts, but they do love butternut squash. And there's some elements of choice there that other food sources, we don't have that option. So it's a program we are incredibly grateful for. And like I said, we run it a couple different ways. Our drivers go and pick up a significant portion of stores, but then also particularly more in the rural areas, we know the store's projected donation amount, and then we match it with an agency that's in the area. And again, one of the key points there is that the agency can go pick it up from the grocery store and get it out, get the fresh out the door as fast as you can. So it gets into somebody's refrigerator faster, and so that they are able to eat that fresh produce and save and rescue that product. It's just we cannot express enough how grateful we are, because the stores have to take the time to set that product aside. And it does take some effort on the store's behalf, but we are incredibly grateful for the generous support of time and food that the retail store program has offered us. And this is Carrie Ann. She's our Alabama and Mississippi coordinator for our retail program. We also have another coordinator in Florida, Dwayne. And she'll share a little bit about her perspective and her side.
Thanks, Cindy. Yeah, it's my privilege to coordinate our retail donation program throughout our Alabama and Mississippi service area. And as Cindy said, Dwayne covers our Florida Panhandle. So if you have any questions about it, don't hesitate to reach out to one of us. We love this program. We love to talk about it. On behalf of everyone at Feeding the Gulf Coast, I'd like to thank our retail donors for their support and commitment to this program. This donation program accounts for nearly half of the food that we source every year, and we simply could not do what we do without them. And speaking of that, I would love to share a story that proves just how amazing our retail partners are. When an agency is, Cindy touched on this a moment ago, when an agency is matched with a store, I go to the agency for a training meeting, and part of that meeting is what I like to call the field trip. We literally load up in the car and go over to the store, and we make introductions and get all the logistics right. We meet key players in the program like store managers, department managers, associates, and the store receivers. Now, the store receivers are vital to the success of this program. Feeding America even calls them the gatekeepers. And I like to say when you befriend the receivers, you've got a good program going. So at this particular meeting with the receivers, I noticed something really interesting happening. The receiver actually recognized the ladies from the pantry that I was with. She recognized them because they feed her mother. It was just amazing. There were hugs and lots of laughter, and there were tears, and I think there were a lot of tears of gratitude. There were definitely tears streaming down my face, and I was completely humbled when I saw what was happening. I think Cindy can attest to this too. As a member of the operations team here, I can get very caught up in pounds and more and grow the program bigger, more. And in this moment, I was reminded that we rescue food for people. We rescue food from that grocery store so that receiver's mother could put food on her table for her family. And I'm super proud to say that the program at that particular store has grown nearly 50% since that meeting. And that's a true testament to our devoted partner agency and our amazing retail donors. So, and I think those ladies are with us today.
Thank you so much, Carrie Ann and Cindy. And Carrie Ann sharing that story with us is, just like she said, a beautiful testimony of why we do this. It's for the people. It's to serve our mission, to reach those people who are facing hunger. And we couldn't do that without the support of our retail partners and also our amazing partner agencies. So at this time, I would like to welcome Janet and Judy, who are partner agencies with New Life in Christ, which is one of our agencies in Foley. Welcome, Janet and Judy. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we just really appreciate the partnership that we share. Could you tell me a little bit about your agency and how you started your program through New Life in Christ?
We started in 2002 with our food ministry. And we started because my dad has a heart of compassion. He's the pastor of our church. He has a heart of compassion for the needy in everywhere we've ever been. And he reminded us this morning that Jesus said, I was hungry and you fed me not. And our mandate by God is to feed the hungry. And that's why we started it, because we saw such a need in our community. And we've been working with y'all for about 18 years now.
Wow, that's amazing. We are so thankful for you. And again, we couldn't do the work that we do without strong partners like New Life in Christ. So tell me how long you've been a part of the retail store level pickup program.
We've been working with the retail store since 2017.
Wow. And how has this program aided your ability to reach those families and individuals in the community who are facing hunger?
Oh, my word. They have provided us with most, if not all, of the fresh produce that we give to people, along with meat, bakery, and dry goods. And just a minute ago, one of your people on the call was talking about rescuing food and getting it out right away to families. And many, many times we're at the store picking up food, and we have a line waiting as soon as we get back. So it immediately goes into the hands of families that are hungry and needy.
That's perfect. Beautiful. Thank you. So Carrie Ann mentioned that touching story that just really impacted her, and her sharing that story with members of our team is really how you ended up joining us today, because your work not only impacts those that you're helping, but even those within the Feeding the Gulf Coast organization. So could you share a little bit about that connection that was made that day and how it impacted each of you?
Yes, this is Judy. I went with Carrie to meet the associates with her and the managers that would be involved with our food pickup. So we'd be, they'd see a face. And we were in one of the rooms, and a lady said, "Oh my goodness, your New Life in Christ church." And she just said, "I want to tell you how much you have helped my mother," and just said how desperately in need her mother was of food, and our church was there to help her. And So she was thrilled to death that our church was the one that was going to be picking up the food because she knew that we would get the food out to the needy.
Wow.
And this is Janet. I just wanted to say another similar story. I usually am the one that with my volunteers that goes and picks up. And I went in just the other day and one of the associates came out and said, I just want to thank your church. My daughter and her family would not have food today if it wasn't for y'all. And he gave me a hug.
Wow. It's moments like that, I know, that fuel the work that you're both doing. So,
It does. It makes such a difference.
can you tell me about maybe how your work changed during 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic? And did it change the people who you have served during that time, or how did that impact the work of your mission?
Well, not only COVID, but the hurricanes that came through just totally devastated our community. And many people have been in desperate need of food. Many told us they lost their jobs, they lost their homes. We've had many people and families living in tents and in cars that have needed food, anything they can get, and we tailor food to their need. If they can cook or not cook, do they have utensils, can they open the cans, just things like that, and make sure they have what they need to eat. And many people, I can't tell you how many, have said they've never been to a food pantry before in their life. Mm-hmm. They're embarrassed to have to come. Their finances and circumstances have just fell out and they had no way to buy food anymore. And they tear up, and I just tell them, listen, everybody has needs at some times in their life, and we're just happy that we can be there to help you, and please don't be embarrassed. And then we've also seen business owners that have had to close their doors due to COVID. They now have no finances available to pay their bills, much less buy groceries, and they've been coming to our food bank as well.
I think that's a really important point. Just to interject, when we talk about hunger, I think it's easy to just think of a certain person or type of person you may have in mind, but in reality, it's all kinds of people and all kinds of circumstances that could make any of us in that position. So that's a great point to make, and we appreciate you and reminding us of that fact.
It definitely shows how vulnerable we all can be in times of uncertainty, as like we faced and continue to face with COVID-19 and then disaster recovery. Absolutely. So can you tell us anything else about what the relationship that New Life in Christ Church has with Feeding the Gulf Coast? Anything else that you'd like to share, and what, as far as what it means to your ability to reach those who are facing hunger?
Well, I will say that without Feeding the Gulf Coast and our partnership with y'all and the retail stores that we're able to go to, we would not be able to feed the people that we're feeding. It's been an amazing partnership. And I mean, as many people as we're having come in now, so much more, there would be no way to feed them. And my heart breaks if we don't have something to give to someone. So, or just a small amount to give, and I tell them, come back, because we'll have more tomorrow or the next day, and we'll make sure you get through today and get what you need the next day. And if we get an abundance of food, a lot of times we'll put it on Facebook and tell them, I mean, we've stayed up till 10 o'clock at night on weekends right after Hurricane Sally just to be able to get food out to people that were in desperate need, that lost their freezers and lost all their meat. We stayed up late just to get that food out to them. And they were coming, lines and lines of cars. The police had to help us close off lanes on Highway 59.
Well, and that's what Carrie Ann said. She said that you ladies were absolute rock stars after Hurricane Sally. So just thank you so much. You know, this is a mutual relationship. You said that you can't do the work that you're doing without us, and we absolutely cannot do the work that we do without you. So we appreciate your heart for those who are facing difficult situations, and we just appreciate your work, and we thank you for your partnership.
You're welcome. Because of y'all, we were able to open our doors right after Sally, and every single day I had rock star volunteers who came in and cooked meals every day with me for the linemen and the tree cutters and because the city of Foley had more trees down than we've ever had in any storm. All the electricity was out for 17 or more days for everybody, and I mean, we were just able to do that because I think it was Carrie Ann called me and said, we got a load of food in and we know you're feeding the linemen, come on. And we drove down immediately and got it and fed the linemen and all the workers. So thank you for that too.
Well, again, thank you. We appreciate you. And
thank you so much.
We appreciate you joining us today. Thank you so much.
Yep.
You're welcome.
And
Thank you.
I just want to remind anyone, if anyone's watching who may be in need of food assistance or knows someone who is, to please visit our website, feedingthegulfcoast.org, and you can find a pantry near you. You can find a wonderful partner like we have with Janet and Judy who can connect you to food and resources that you need. You can also call 888-704-FOOD or visit benefitsenrollmentcenter.org to learn about SNAP and other benefits for which you may be eligible. So,
and if I could give a little plug for our agency relations team, if you know of a potential partner or a place where there's not where you feel like there's a gap in our service area and we're not reaching a particular region of people in need, let us know, or let us know of someone who might make a great new partner agency. We're always eager to try to make more relationships and reach more people. So that's another opportunity through these contacts that we could maybe make a new superstar agency partner.
Absolutely. And just as a reminder, if you have any questions, please enter them into the Q&A box, and we're happy to field those questions. I also would like to remind everyone, I know Michael mentioned the Walmart Fight Hunger Spark Change campaign. So that started this week and will last through May 3rd. So as you visit Walmart or Sam's Club and you're doing just your regular shopping, look for those items that are specially marked as part of the campaign, and a portion of that purchase does come back to the food bank. So you can also donate at the register or round up at the register. And with every $1 that Feeding the Gulf Coast receives from that campaign or otherwise, we're able to provide 5 meals for people who are facing hunger. So campaigns like this and partnerships like this are so important to us. So we just encourage you, if you'd like to learn more information about the campaign, you can visit our website also, feedingthegulfcoast.org. Or if you'd like to become involved in a different way, as Michael mentioned, we always are in need of volunteers. We also couldn't do the work that we do without those faithful partners who just show up and help in so many ways. So you can get information about volunteering or partnering maybe through a food drive or many other ways on our website, feedingthegulfcoast.org. So now our first question is, let's see, could you, Carrie Ann or Cindy, either one of you, could you tell us what stores participate in our store donation program?
I can do that.
Thank you.
We have Walmart, Winn-Dixie, Publix, Target, Sam's, Costco, Big Lots, Fresh Market, and as of this year, drum roll, Dollar General. There's just a few of those in our service area, so it's quite the undertaking.
Those are some really strong partnerships.
Yeah, they're incredible.
They support our work, so thank you.
And to talk about, the work that goes into making those relationships work, Carrie Ann and Dwayne out there talking, creating the organization that we need, and really trying to explain why it's important. These folks are out there. You can get the scope of just how big a job that is when we talk about all of those partners and everything that goes into it. And as they talked about, it's such a big part of what we do in the food supply for us. It's a big job. It's an important job.
Absolutely. The logistics that goes into that and the operational planning and scope is hard to fathom, even as someone who's inside the organization. So it's a great team that makes it all happen. Speaking of that, another question is, how many times a week does Feeding the Gulf Coast pick up from our store partners?
Oh, wow. It's different for each territory. For our Theodore warehouse, we pick up on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I think we pick up about 25 times.
I think I have the
But
answer to
Michael
that.
has it.
I have a crib note or notes about the retail that I've been putting together. And I believe we have like something like 45 to 50 pickups a week.
Okay. Between
I
17
believe.
stores.
It's 17 stores, okay.
Okay.
In Florida, the way we've organized it is a little, it depends on the region. So in Florida, they actually do like 100 pickups a week. And there's strategy there, how many times we want to partner direct to agency and how many we want to make sure we always have some of that coming through our warehouse to be able to disperse it across, a lot of agencies. So we kind of do a mixture of agency to retail partner and also retail partner to our warehouse to make sure that we're moving that food around. And so in Florida, the mix of that is a bit bigger, and they're picking up about 100 pickups across, I think, maybe 60 stores.
57
57
stores.
stores.
57 stores, okay, yeah.
Wow.
And, that's the drivers that are out there every day. We talked about a lot of pieces of this. Like, we can't overlook the drivers.
Our drivers are amazing.
We have an amazing staff of drivers. It's not like hopping in your sedan and cruising around. You got a truck you have to manage and the safety and all the things that go into that. And then to have the relationships with those retailers and to be the face of our organization, I think that's something that's overlooked, that our drivers are a big face of what we do, whether that be a 20,000-pound mobile pantry or showing up at one of our retail partners to do those pickups every week. We just rely on them so heavily and are so proud of the work they do.
Well, and I think that just learning more about the program, it really highlights how important the table is in these segments, because there are so many layers to feeding the Gulf Coast, so many different aspects of it that we are excited to share with those in the community. So this was just a little way to touch on our store donation program. We welcome you to reach out if you have questions following the table that come to mind and you'd like to learn more, or of course visit our website, feedingthegulfcoast.org. And we just hope that you'll join us for future episodes. Look for information about those. And thank you so much for giving us your time today to learn a little bit more about Feeding the Gulf Coast and our partners and the work that we're all able to do together in the community.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.